I got this comment and it pushed me into a question I had for many years. Why do we always only talk about male violence and never about female violence? Is that even a real concept? Do people even know what it means? I do, from both sides, from receiving it and also using it. And the fact that it's even hard for us to picture what female violence looks like is already part of the problem. Also, I'm talking about the West, the US, Western Europe, Germany, not Saudi Arabia, not Somalia, not Afghanistan. This is about what happens in modern societies when one sex is automatically framed as oppressed and the other as oppressor. Because male violence is real, but female violence is real too. It's just harder to see. So let's start at the beginning. Sexual drive is the biological root of almost every power dynamic. Across 211 studies with 620,000 people, men consistently show stronger sexual desire, more sexual thoughts, more masturbation, more pursuit of sex. A 48-nation study shows that this happens across almost every country. And a real-world behavior reflects it. 1 out of 4 men has paid for sex in Germany, when female buyers almost do not exist. This leads to more sexual pressure, more frustration, and more loneliness. Not because men are bad, but their biology is different. And when one group has more sex drive, more impersonal sexual orientation, and more physical power, that group commits more sexual assaults, sexual crimes. This doesn't excuse anything, but it explains the asymmetry. Nothing excuses violence, but it tells us something very crucial. Men and women are equally capable of cruelty, but each sex uses the tools their biology and body actually give them in relation to what their body craves the most. If women had the same sex drive and the same physical abilities as men, and it would be just turned around, then women would dominate the sexual offender statistics. This is not about morality, this is just logic. So if men have physical tools, what do women have? Women have social tools. Across research, women show huge advantage in verbal fluency, emotional attunement, coalition building, reading micro-expressions, impulse control, and lower risk-taking. These aren't soft skills. This doesn't mean women are better. It means they have different tools. Less brute force, more emotional force. Less physical intimidation, more relational precision. Less visible dominance, but more covert influence. And when you look at this list through the lens of power, it stops looking soft. It starts looking strategic. Those traits can be used for cruelty, not only for care. We as women, we would never admit that, especially not towards men. But these are the tools that women use to gain control, retaliation, or dominance. Female power is real, it's just quiet, more refined, subtle, which is exactly why almost nobody talks about it. And that's exactly why the next part of this video matters. Male violence is obvious, it's brute, it's visible, it's loud, it's physical, it leaves bruises and police reports. But female violence, it's different. Female violence is invisible, not because it's gentler, but because it uses the tools women actually have. Social intelligence, emotional sensitivity, relational leverage, and precision communication. Women rarely break bones, but they break contexts, relationships, social status, reputations. your sense of self, your self-esteem. They can break a man in many ways, many more ways than just physical. Female violence looks like exclusion, silence, coldness, strategic withholding, reputation damage, guilt, manipulation in general, emotional starvation, coordinated social pressure, conditional affection, weaponized confusion, secrets turned into leverage, and plausible deniability that lays over all of that. None of this shows up in assault statistics. None of it, most of it, doesn't end in the hospital. Most of it doesn't even register as violence. But for the person experiencing it, it can dismantle an entire sense of self. I know this violence because I've used it. Not by screaming, not by hitting, but by precision and using the tools that I had. And if you've ever dealt with the extreme side of this, we have the gold diggers, the narcissists, the female narcissists, and the female psychopaths. You've seen this whole dynamic in play out at its fullest, creating, destroying mostly men's, whole life, financially, socially, psychologically. Their violence hides in their likability, their innocence, their emotional fluency, their ability to flip narratives, and their capacity to cry on command. You can't photograph that. You can't report that easily. You can't prosecute it. And that's exactly what it makes powerful. You know that there's this one saying that every gay man thinks he can win RuPaul's Drag Race and every woman thinks she could get away with murder? And that is what it makes dangerous. People could say, but psychological harm is not as bad as physical harm. Is it really? So we now finally arrived at the final asymmetry I want to talk about in this video. It's the one nobody wants to talk about. I call it the good form of sexism. All women who watch this video, we all know that and we all use it. Men carry desire, while women carry the choice. And that single asymmetry shapes everything. Men crave sexual closeness. Women control the access to it. This is not misogyny, this is not ideology, this is biology, economics, and human history, and lived experience. Men are the pursuers, women are the selectors. And when you look at male loneliness, the sexlessness crisis, the incel phenomenon, the compulsive behaviors, the despair, you see what happens when desire is high but access is low. There are plenty of men who would have given anything for a moment of closeness, a touch, a smile, a moment of being wanted. And I know women who understood and know that exactly. And I know women, and you probably are one, who know exactly how to weaponize that, how to use what you just naturally have given by birth. And women don't need to offer sex to wield sexual power. Women can offer a gaze, a giggle, a moment of softness, a promise of possibility, a hint of romantic attention. Men starve for that, and women know that. A woman knows the effect she has, that she can move mountains with the slightest gesture. And a man who wants affection will tear himself apart just to get it. And here's the biological part. Nobody wants to talk about it. Your body runs your mind, not the other way around. You can tell yourself stories about enlightenment, about self-control, about moral superiority and intellectual evolution. But your body just does not care. A kidney cleans your blood, whether you philosophize about kidneys or not. If we take drugs, our mind changes because our body changes. If we stay awake for 3 nights, our decision making will be influenced. Our perception will be influenced. how we think, how we feel will be influenced. Even if we drink coffee or eat a little too much of sugar, yourself, your thoughts, your being, your mind, your emotions will shift. The body is primary. And at the same time, I need to make this disclaimer. I'm right now reading Dr. Joe Dispenza talk about the placebo effect. Of course, our thoughts also have a huge effect on our bodies, but it's vice versa. And I think nowadays, in this modern, very mind-focused culture, we forget that our mind is happening in our body. And with those examples I just gave you, you see, and emotions are, you don't even need to you don't even need to put something from the outside into your body to change your thinking. You can be triggered by a smell, a thought, something you see, something you read, and then your nervous system will put you in an emotional state, which will also change your thinking and makes it impossible for you to think straight. So the body is primary, and the body has two primal directives: survive and reproduce. And it doesn't mean that we can't overcome this, but it also means that if we ignore that this exists, we can fool ourselves into thinking that we are making logical decisions while we are just driven from those two directives: reproduction, survival. The only reason why people deny this is because it's fashionable to think we are above biology. But biology does not negotiate. A man can identify as whoever they want, but they still can't carry a baby. And a woman can believe that she is pure rational will, but her hormonal cycles determine her emotional landscape. The body decides and the mind just writes the explanation afterwards. Why do I need to talk about all of this? I feel that we entered a point where we are able to look at our dark sides as well, my dear beloved woman. I am not denying that physical or male violence is harmful and bad and something, especially in those countries like Somalia, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, and other countries like that where basic women rights are not existing. I mean, of course, you need to fight for that. But we can't keep running around narrating the same oppression story. I'm Asian, you can see that. And I'm confronted with, oh, where are you from? At almost every encounter I have with new people. And I had my evolution with it. At first, I was just a kid and I wasn't aware of any social, cultural context around it, so I was just answering the questions. Then I got really annoyed as a teenager and I went down this whole rabbit hole of, this is so racist, why do people blah, 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 blah. And I used to get pissed off. And nowadays, I'm like, yeah, of course people are curious. And I answer freely, openly, happily. I just share. And if I don't want, I don't share, but it became light for me. And I think that is something that I see in this racism debate a lot of times. And I feel we can use that in this fourth wave feminism era as well. How do you think you benefit as a woman to always tell the story of you being the oppressed one? I don't see anything you gain from it than misery. This doesn't mean that you should not take care of yourself or let men harm you or anyone harm you, but this speaks from my life experience as somebody who never questioned themselves against or in comparison to men. I never felt oppressed by the system. I see that there are opportunities to abuse power, but I see those in both sexes. And And I totally understand that it's very hard, especially for men, that maybe that's the reason why this video is more directed towards women, because we know, I know you know what I'm talking about. But I had many discussions and conversations with men who told me about their relief that finally someone was seeing what and naming the thing that they had no words for, what their female counterpart did to them. I see it so much in society, and this video's intention probably is just to sharpen your perception, to make it possible for you to see that as well. And yeah, I don't want to say that there is no, I mean, obviously the media is full of maybe violence, but maybe we need to start to create spaces where female violence is also seen, and seen as what it is: abuse of power, manipulation. But the thing with manipulation and power abuse in the female way is that it's subtle and it's very hard to catch. Yeah, this is today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. As you can see, I'm very open for any opinions and comments, and I thank you for commenting and sharing your experience. And I hope you can understand my viewpoint better now. And if not, that's also totally fine. I wish you a beautiful day or night whenever you're watching. See you in the next video. Bye.